Hello, this is Paul with Logix Training. Today we're going to talk about Siemens versus Rockwell, the global battle for automation control. Stay with us today as we talk about the similarities, the differences, the likes, dislikes, while we try to find out which one is the best. Stick with us. This ought to be a good fight. All right, we're going to open up with taking a quick look at a program in Rockwell, right? There's our 5000 platform. There's a lot to be said for the 5000 platform. It's a way more robust and capable platform. It gives us a lot of capability that we didn't used to have with the 500, with the tag-based addressing, things of that nature. A lot more capacity in our instructions and control, our memory capacity, our hardware capacity. It really is a huge, monumental step up from the 500 platform. It's been around for quite a while now, and pretty much anybody who works in North America, has run in the controls industry, has run into it, has used it, has spent some time with it. As for new PLC programmers, it is a platform you most certainly want to spend time getting to know, getting familiar with, right? So with that being said, let's open this up. So let's look at this. So a basic program like this, the neat thing is we have it's simple. It really is pretty simple to work with. So we can basically set up a program. We have all our main controls. We can change our controller. We have a lot of options here, our port configurations. We have a lot of capability right here just with the click of a button. We can set up and create our routines right here and build all of our routines out pretty simply. In Rockwell, obviously we have lots of different, we have the 5 main programming languages that we can program our routines in. So we can bounce between the different languages. So that's a real plus. If you're in North America, this is a premier software program you want to get familiar with. Rockwell is dominant. They really dominate the market. So it's important to be familiar with it. Me myself, I spend a lot of time with Ars Logix 5000 and Studio 5000 in programming these days, right? So we have obviously our ability to put in motion groups, add-on instructions, create user-defined data types. We have a lot of capability here. So we have our I/O configuration. It really is pretty simple to set up and program in our Logix 5000. Some of the things that trip up new programmers, right? One is data types. Okay, so being able to create data types typically trips up a lot of beginners, but you have data types in 500, so it shouldn't be very complicated, but sometimes it does trip people up. I probably should have brought up controller tags or tags in particular. Fair bit different than the 500 platform, but this generally will trip up a lot of the new programmers until they get more comfortable, more familiar with it. Once they get that, it becomes relatively simple, and obviously it becomes easy to integrate hardware into the 5000 platform. Pretty simple. Once you do it once or twice and you figure out how to do that, it becomes pretty simple. So those are just a few of the things that I noticed tend to trip people up, is understanding the data types, how the tags are written a little different. The hardware configuration is generally the same from 500. You just have a lot more options in the 5000. So really it's overall it's pretty basic, pretty simple to at least get started as a new PLC programmer with this platform. So now let's take a quick look at our Siemens. Wow. So now when we look at a Siemens coming from a 5,000 platform, this tends to be overwhelming. It becomes that thing where some people say, some programmers say, hey, I'm just going to do 5,000 because Siemens S7 TI Portal, it's just too complicated, so different than 5,000. But what tends to trip people up when coming from the Rockwell Logix platform to the Siemens platform is understanding the programming blocks. And this tends to be the area that really trips them up. If you come from the RS Logix 5000 platform versus the 500, then it's an easier transition. But what will still trip them up, a lot of people, are the programming blocks. And really there's 4 of them. Once you know how these are used, it's very simple. And you just use them according to their particular purpose. Once you have that, then it becomes relatively simple to use that. Now, one of the other things that tends to trip people up when they first begin is what's known as networks. And usually, if you'll notice on the 5000, it's just that it seems like one long uninterrupted run. And in Siemens, we have these networks that break up your program. But you can literally do the same thing in 5000, but 5000 platform just doesn't. That's all. But you can break up your program into like kind of sections within a routine. So once you get past that, it becomes relatively simple. Tags. So tags are relatively the same in Siemens compared to 5000. Creating a tag-based programming, once you've done it in 5000, Siemens is essentially the same way. Data type, same thing. Okay, so you can add a data type as you can in 5000. So it becomes the same. Very easy transition. Adding in hardware, you can add in hardware. Now, some of the things that makes Siemens, in my opinion, a really user-friendly programming platform is some of the integrated and design on your process, your program design features, such as this graphic user interface that lets you integrate, bring in different hardware, and set up your communications. So I really like this feature. One of the other really neat features is the highly integrated HMI. So I can integrate it into my network, but then I actually also integrate it directly into my PLC program. Whereas when you have factory talk, it can network to your 5000, but it will not be fully integrated into your. You will not have development capability in 5000 as you can in 500, or excuse me, in Siemens. So I kind of like that. I don't have to open up 2 separate softwares. Now, the HMI WinCC, for example, is an additional cost to add that into this program, but they're fully integrated, and that's really neat. And then you also have that same capability with your drives, right? So you can, again, another software package you add into it, but it's fully integrated, and you can do all of your calibrations, your diagnostics, set your parameters, your commissioning, everything. You can trace and monitor the performance right in Siemens. So I really like that. You also have all of your different additional hardwares. That is the same thing. We also have graphical interface with our added hardware, and we can access all of our bits and data and everything that we need within that hardware right within the Siemens S7 TIA portal. So it really is a totally integrated automation design software. Now, that on the surface, in my opinion, gives it a really much more higher level because it's really fully integrated. But sometimes what happens is, for new people, is because it's so robust, there's so much here, it's really at a much higher level in its capability, in my opinion, that it tends to scare people away from them. But once they start using it, start playing around with it, and get comfortable with it, they find that there's many things about it that they like. It is really, in my opinion, Siemens S7 TIA portal is really a factor of familiarity. If you're overseas, outside of America, in Europe, this tends to be a predominant software package. It literally is. And it tends to be the software package that you're most familiar with starting with. So, and maybe you'll start with the 300 or 400 versus the TIA S7 portal, but you'll at least start that way. And it's really the transition, I think, from TIA to Siemens. I think it's much easier. I've not done that, so I really can't say for sure. But I will tell you, I believe it would be an easier transition from TIA to Rockwell versus Rockwell to TIA. But that's kind of a glimpse. It really depends on what you start with, what you're going to be more familiar with, the platforms you're most likely going to work with, which will likely, if you're in North America, will be Rockwell, and if you're in Europe, will likely be Siemens. Which one's better? I think it really depends on the programmer. I would say this: your ability to have both of those and be really highly functional with both platforms really puts you on a level all by yourself. Very, very, very few, especially new PLC programmers, are comfortable with using both platforms and are really functional with both. So it puts you in a really great class to be able to use both of them. But by saying being competent, I mean not just doing some basic Udemy class. I mean really being able to be functional with both of them at a high level. That is most certainly a goal that you should set for yourself. Do several basic programs in both of them, and then continue to advance, integrate other hardware, integrate other challenges into your programming so that you can gain that high level competence. All right. So this is Paul with Logics Training, just taking a few minutes and kind of talking about that fight between Siemens and Rockwell. The fight is within yourself. Are you willing to work hard and learn both platforms? All right. I'd say it's most certainly worth doing. So until next time, this is Paul with Logics Training. If this has been valuable, if you're interested in growing your automation career, go ahead and subscribe and hit the bell. If you have any questions, put it down below in the comments box, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. So until next time, this is Paul with Logics Training.